it's Carolyn and Michelle, aka LA Triathlete and Fuel My Run, and we're going off course.
Hello there. This is Michelle, and if you're watching on Spotify and YouTube, you will see Napa talking quietly. Just a solo episode today. Carolyn will be back business as usual next week. So no worries there. She's still gallivanting in, let's check her location again. Napa. Napa. Okay, Napa wants to steal the spotlight right now. Okay. If you just watched that, I just butt dialed my sister. Also, with the word butt dial, if you accidentally this is funny. I'm realizing not all people say this, aka my French boyfriend Dov. I said, sorry, just butt dialed you. He was like, what do you mean? And then I had to explain that. And the thing was, I didn't even butt dial him, but I think we use the term butt dial interchangeably for accidentally call someone. And not everybody knows that, just so you know. All right, it looks like Carolyn's in Munich right now. I feel like she was doing a beer festival situation. So, or Oktoberfest, as they call it. I do fake Oktoberfest all the time. Oh my God, she totally is, I think. She's at a place called, why did I think I can pronounce it? Ocean Bertery. So that's where she is. So I have to admit a couple things. I was at my favorite grocery store, and by favorite, I mean it's kind of just like one of the only ones I know. It's called Avril. It's organic, mostly. I spend my entire paycheck there. And I bought some grapes, wasn't looking, bam, bam, got home, put a few in my mouth, as we do when we eat grapes, started chewing, and realized there were seeds in them. Being from America, being from the US, I am not used to buying seed grapes, but that's how grapes normally are. I think at their core, they have seeds. And so I was taking my time to like spit out the little seeds like here and there. Like it was like a core in a nectarine or something. And I was just spitting them out. And Dov was like, why are you not eating the seeds? And I'm like, you can't eat the seeds. From what I know, when you eat the seed of a watermelon, you grow a watermelon in your stomach. That's at least what books told me as a child. And I slowly realized you can eat the seeds. Also, the seeds are good for you. They contain antioxidants. And so, yeah, I didn't know that. But then you think about it, grapeseed oil extract is like a supplement that's good for you. And so it kind of makes sense. I don't know. Anyways, so PSA, you can eat the seeds of grapes. They're actually really good for you. And now my life has changed. So anyway, this past weekend was the Montreal Marathon. I did it last year. I had a couple friends come from out of town, and it was fun. It was awesome. It was actually one of my top favorite marathons of all time. I love a loop. Actually, it's kind of like it's not even really a loop. It's kind of like an out, and then you come back a little bit, but the finish line is in a different place than the start line, which is best. Like, I don't want the finish and the start line to be in the same spot because I'm already aware of that area. And when I get close to it, I'm like, I'm too aware of how many miles the finish line is. Anyway, so obviously point to point. Okay, let's rank it. Point to point, superior. Loop, also superior, because you don't really know when the finish line is going to come because you're confused, especially if you're really bad with directions or didn't look at the course map before. Out and back, jail time, but I get it. Jail time, but like, honestly, how many street closures can you pay for? You know, like we're on a budget here, people, says the race directors. But anyway, the Montreal course is fun because you go into the city. I love a city course too. I love a city race if you're doing a road race. You got a lot of spectators. You get to see the city. You get to see the sights. You get to understand the neighborhoods. I didn't do it this year because I didn't sign up again. It's also like not that easy of a marathon. There's like a slight incline the last 10K, but you don't really notice it until you're like, wait, am I going uphill? It's one of those. And there's some like pretty steep hills too. I was like, you know what? I'm a spectate. And I think this is a good reminder that we need to start spectating at least one race a year. if you do marathons, if you do Ironmans, if you do triathlons, whatever you do, you need to spectate a race once a year. And I think this is the new quota because it hits you emotionally in a different way. When you're doing a marathon and you're running, you're just kind of like, you're so, I mean, yes, maybe you're taking in the sights, maybe like you feel the feels in a different way. But when you're watching a race, oh my God. And I'm not about to start my period. Actually, maybe I am, but that doesn't really matter. I cried 5 times. And like I wasn't like bawling, like pass me a tissue. I was just like tearing up and like really feeling it deep gutturally. And it was so, I was like embarrassed. I was kind of like, why am I doing this? I was also, you could not stop me. There's something that comes over me and everybody, not Dov, but a lot of people, when you're watching a race, well, I'm also a woo girl, which that's kind of been my thing my entire life, you know. And if you're not sure what a woo girl is, it's when something happens, they go, woo, you know. So I was wooing, as I do. I was screaming. I was saying all the things, apparently in French, because this is like a French first province in Canada, the only one, Quebec. You don't say, let's go runners. Like you just say, allez, allez, allez. And allez is let's go. But in English, we say, let's go runners. Let's go. Pick it up. Looking good. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things we say, but let's go runners. Looking good runners. Which everything that you say outside of the race is hella corny. Can we talk about that? Let's go runners. Look at that stride. And I was noticing there's some things I was like, you go, girl, you go. But like, God, I'm just a corny person, I think, at the end of the day. But anyway, I think we just we lose all control when we're in a race environment and we start saying things and we scream and we yell. I'm a bit hoarse today. I'm a bit hoarse. I've been hoarser, but on the scale of like not a horse at all to like a race horse, I'm a pony. I don't know. So I was just out of control. Dov had a little like cowbell situation because we're near cheer station and they're like passing out all the things to make noise. We got there at a time when we saw the elites come by. Man, there's some fast runners. We were there. I mean, we saw the lead runners go by and man, they're running like probably low twos, I think. Actually, I should see what the winner ran. Too much work. But I think there's some really fast elites for sure. And I'm sure there's prize money. But I was just like blown away with all the fast runners. And at one point I was like, oh, I was trying to guess the pace before I saw a pace group. And like people were going sub 3 at a sub 3 pace. And I was thinking they were going a lot slower. So I was a little thrown off. Also, it's so funny, like different strides and different running forms. Some people looked like they were going so fast, and some people looked like they were going relatively slow, but they're just so efficient with their form. They were going so fast. So we went because another reason, one of Dov's coworkers was running and we wanted to support him. It was his first marathon. Good job, Jeremy. And he's like really tall. And it was so funny because I think he was like being very conservative with his finish time. I think he could train for a sub 3 if he wanted to, but he was going for a 3:45. He ended up doing 3:41. So he hit his goal, negative splits. Like, who is he? A negative splits god, some would say. But he did great. But it was so funny because it looked like he was walking when we saw him at one point because he's so tall. And that pace, what is that? Like a 4-hour marathon is what, a 9:06. So, you know, a high 8-minute mile, 8:45 maybe. Am I making that up? In kilometers per hour, it's like a 5:15. Crazy that I'm learning that. But anyway, it's so funny. He looked like he was going relatively slow because he was so tall. But then the girl next to him, it looked like she was like speedy. So speedy. Also, if you catch yourself recording somebody, if you're at one of these races spectating, maybe I'm alone in this, but my screaming was insane. Just too loud. So I texted my friend, Emily, who, shout out, she is also an emotional gal. emotional person, feels things. And I was like, I just cried like 5 times spectating this race. Am I okay? And she sent me this, like a breakdown of why it's emotional to watch people at a race. And it made so much sense. One of the points is like unity and togetherness and people coming together to support a common goal and a common cause. And I was like, damn, in a time that's so divisive, I feel like going to a race really helps remember that everyone's all in it together. Okay, this is getting corny, but it was kind of cool. And I think that actually was part of the reason why I was getting so emotional, because everyone was just, you could cheer. I'm sure the people in the houses behind me were like, shut the hell up. I'm trying to sleep. It always cracks me up because if you're not in the running scene, how are you supposed to know there's a marathon going on? You know what I mean? Unless there's signs that the neighborhood puts up, but like you're not looking at those. It cracked me up to think of all the people who woke up that morning and were like, oh my God, there's a marathon. I can't leave my apartment. I can't leave my bunker. I have to stay here for the unforeseeable future. There's going to be paper cups everywhere. Go spectate a race, report back. Did you cry? If you didn't cry, that's okay. It's probably because I'm about to start my period. Let's be real. It also got me to thinking. I was trying to remember certain parts of the course, and I couldn't, for some reason, remember the finish line, which is crazy because I did that race just like a year ago. And let me know if you guys actually, oh, Napa's got a toy now. Does your dog just sit with a toy in their mouth and fall asleep with it in their mouth? If so, let me know. But also let me know, when you're thinking back to a race, are there some races that you kind of remember every single detail to? And then you look back at some races, you're like, did I just black out for 26 miles? Like, what's going on? Well, I don't even know what that course was like. But some races, I vividly remember it. Like the old LA Marathon, where my old PR, I got a new one, but my old marathon PR used to be. I remember remembering every single turn and twist. And this was always kind of funny. This was one of the ways that I used to go to sleep in the past, which I need to like tap into this, I think, with my sleep issues currently. But I would just play through the race. This is crazy. In my head, like different mile points, different points where I like picked up the pace. Oh my gosh. Big Bear Revel. Everyone's like, Revel? You don't talk about those races. People don't like talking about Revel races. But I remember I did one once and I just had such a good experience. I did one 2 times, actually. But the first time I did it, I just remember my negative splits so perfectly. My brain chemistry changed a little bit after that race. Do you have any of those races where you're just like, oh, I'm a different person now? I don't know what it is. And then you have a bad race and you're just like questioning everything in your life. And then a month later, you forget that it was bad. And then you convince yourself that you need to sign up for another one. And then it goes bad again. And then you're like, do I have a problem? And then you sign up for another one and you're like, it's got to get better eventually. Am I right? So I don't know. If you're having sleep problems, try thinking about a race and every single detail and run through the entire race mile by, oh my God, Napa, mile by mile, and see if you fall asleep, because you might forget one of the miles and then all of a sudden you just like are in REM. Okay, this is really important because the fashion of running specifically, and I'm going to have to follow up with Carolyn on swimming and cycling because I wonder if it's the same. And if you're watching Napa, she is being possessed by a demon and we're just going to let it run its course. So, okay, fashion cycles, right? So when you're looking at fashion cycles outside of a sport, I'm just making assumptions. But sometimes I feel like I have a pretty good pulse on what's about to come back in by how I crave wearing cheetah print. Can anyone relate to this? I'll be all of a sudden going through my clothes and then I pull out a shirt in the closet, just pulling out the clothes that you're never going to wear, but you still are like, do I wear that? And you don't donate it because it's like you think you might wear it in the next 5 to 10 years. So I like pull out a shirt. I'll get to the cheetah print one and I'm like, you know what? It might be the day that I wear this again. And that's because enough time has passed to where it's like socially acceptable to be wearing cheetah all the time again. That being said, I feel like some trends are going to come back into style with running. For example, compression socks, long compression socks. I was a pro compression fiend. I owned so many colors. I was a color girl. I was Carolyn. I had hot pink. I had purple. I had green. I had a St. Patrick's Day themed one. I had a primary color one. I had all the colors. And the thing is, I never matched it. Let's bring back not matching. Ay, ay. Don't snap at me. So I think one, compression socks are coming back in for show. Cause I mean, like the ankle socks, cool. Sometimes like a little like, what do you call it? Crew socks. Why is it called that? Compression socks. They're coming back. Not matching. And not matching, I'm not talking about like alternatives to a matching set. I'm talking about like wearing burnt orange and purple. Like I'm talking about complementary colors that people don't wear together. Maybe I just want this to happen for myself because I used to do this all the time. I used to be the person who, don't get me wrong, I love style. I love clothes, but I would just reach into my drawer, close my eyes, grab a shirt, close my eyes, grab some shorts, put it on and run in it. Can we do that again? Like what other trends though? Visors. I feel like visors were out for a while. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you wear visors, I feel like they're more in the scene of triathlons actually than just like running alone. I mean, don't get me wrong. Runners wear them all day long, but I'm going to have to pick Carolyn's brain on that one. But I feel like visors are going to come back with vengeance because you know those running sunglasses that are insane. Everyone is wearing them right now. They're so trendy. It's trendy to look like an alien right now. And saying that, like, I'm going to buy some alien sunglasses because I think it's kind of cool. Like, I feel like I would look cool with this outfit right now and alien sunglasses. And if you're like, alien sunglasses, no, you know what I'm talking about. It's like the alien sunglasses. Yeah, it's a thing. So we're going to bring back visors, compression socks. What else? You know, okay. Ooh, hear me out. Actually, so running packs are so trendy right now, especially running packs with like some little water bottles in the front. I don't think this is actually going to happen, but maybe they're going to bring back those running belts with the little bottles right there, the little shink shink. But every time I wore one of those, the little bottle would fall out. It would always be like on a 20-mile run and I would have to bend over and pick it off the ground. And it would like hurt because I was so tired. What else do I want to petition for? Saying that, I don't necessarily want any of these to come back because then I have to buy more stuff. Because it's very important to be trendy with running now with social media. You know what I think will never come back? But I also think there's an equivalent thing that's trendy right now, but like I just can't fully get behind. So you remember the arm things? Like you'd like strap your phone in there and then you'd run with like a 5-pound weight on your tricep. You're just, I never understood the running armbands. I really never did. And my arm, I mean, don't get me wrong, I used one. I'm sure I could even find a photo wearing one. But that thing, insane. Like one, if you didn't like switch which arm you wore it on, you had like a ripped arm and then just like a skinny or a flabby arm. You had to change that up. If you're still wearing one, I actually would love to ask you some questions. Or just tell me like, how did you get used to it? Saying that, you kind of get used to anything. Like if you don't like holding your phone when running, which gives Carolyn the ick, like you can get used to it if you do it enough. I'm sure that's same with the armband. But you know what I think the equivalent is? It's when you put your phone in like the shorts pocket or the pants pocket. And I do that sometimes. If I don't want to wear a running belt and I want to bring my phone, which like good for safety reasons. But I always feel like one leg is getting more of a workout than the other leg. And it just like feels weird, which I'm sure, again, you have to get used to. Or maybe my phone is just bulky. Like I have the Pro, the 14. I need to get a new phone. This thing is lagging. I don't understand. You know those people that are like, you complain about your phone and they're like, oh, what do you have? And I'm like, oh, the 14 Pro. They're like, oh, it's slow. I have the 5. And you're like, how are you existing on the same planet as me right now? And why is your phone better than mine? Saying that, I never close my tabs on Safari, so I'm sure that's why. But I don't understand the little phone in there. So I am getting a little bit more. We talked about this in a few episodes ago. And by a few, I mean maybe like 10 to 20 episodes ago. But running packs, people are like, "Ugh, you're not a real runner." It's like non-runners say that because also like, who cares? It doesn't matter what gear you wear. It doesn't matter what you wear. If you're running, you're obviously a runner, But like running packs, I'm kind of getting a little bit more behind them, especially if they don't chafe, because it's so many pockets. Like I want the pockets and I want them all. And again, I think I said a couple episodes ago, I'm not going to buy another running sports bra, shorts, pants, anything unless it has a pocket. And then I proceeded to buy things from Lululemon that do not have a pocket. Where are the pockets going, Lulu? I'm actually confused. And don't get me wrong, I love Lulu. But the lack of pockets and their new items, I'm like, why are we cutting back when we should be adding more? It's suspicious. I have a conspiracy against it. I haven't developed it yet, but I will. I'll form it. I'll make sure it's really conspiratorial and I will report back. I also wanted to talk about pacing because we were talking about pacers. I was talking about the 10K and how I had pacers, and we're like, a 10K with pacers and pacers, a different breed. And it reminded me back to a couple races that I paced. So I was going through some questions of like, how do you start pacing? Where do you even get into that? Do you find it on Indeed? Do people reach out to you on LinkedIn? How? Like, how does that even form? I'll give some answers. And also, this is only my experience, and I'm sure it is a lot different most of the time. But it's kind of one of those things like when you're in or in that community, it kind of just will happen sometimes. I'm assuming. So here's my story. So I used to run with a Long Beach running club called AREC. And when I'm back in Long Beach, I like to try to go if I can. And I haven't in a long time. Love doing trails with them. But when I'm running with them and training for marathons, I remember the Long Beach half marathon was coming up. I wasn't doing it. I wasn't signed up, but I forget what I was training for. Probably, no, I can't even tell you. Maybe CIM. I don't know. Something in the winter perhaps. And I remember someone was like, oh my God, we need pacers. We need pacers for the 150 half. People dropped out. And at the time they had the official Cliff Bar pacers. And I don't know what that means. Are they hired by Cliff Bar? Maybe. But the AREC, the running club I was part of, was a big part of the marathon because, they had a tent, they help and did things, and it was nice. And so they were in with the pace groups. And I remember my friend Dylan was like, hey, do you want to pace a half marathon? And I was a pace nerd at the time. Like I could run. I loved pacing. I loved hitting workouts on the dot. I still do. I think it's so much fun to try to like hit certain paces and to like really feel them too and not have to always look at your watch, like be able to run and know like what range you're in. Loved it. And he asked me that and I was like, "Oh, like do I have to be certified, qualified? Do I have to take a driving test? Do I have to parallel park?" He was like, "No, do you want to do it?" And I was kind of like, "You mean anyone could do this?" I mean, I think you have to be a certain breed of person to be like, yes, when you're not qualified to pace. Like, why would you want that responsibility? But I loved pacing. So I was kind of like, hell yeah. And into the marathon or half marathon, I suppose. The half marathon is my long run for the weekend. Hell to the yes. And at that time, I was like, oh, so like, what are we looking at? Like a 210? And he's like, no, a 150. And that's kind of fast to pace, at least for me. But at that time, I was pretty in shape. And I think that's like a 8:26. Let me vet this. Okay, yes. Like an 8:23. So a little bit faster than that because obviously you don't want to be coming to the finish line above a 150. People be mad about that for good reason. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And he was also pacing with me. So it was the two of us. We were like holding the things. Oh my God, guard dog problems. Am I right? So anyway, I was like, this is going to be fun, Dylan. We're going to have a time. And, got my bib, got to the race start. And it's kind of fun because when you're doing a race and you are the person, you kind of know that your goal time, that kind of stuff. Maybe you go up to the pacers. You're like, what's your strat? how's it going? Have you done this race before? You ask them all the questions. I had people coming up to me asking me those questions. And at this time too, luckily, that half marathon was my favorite half marathon. I still have my half marathon PR there. And I really want to break it, but it was a 1:36:15, I think, which is fast for me, but I loved it. I was a big fan of the course. I run that course all the time. You know, the beginning of it, you're downtown a bit, so you don't really run that part of it, but like the bike path and back on Ocean, very familiar. It was, you know, in the route that I had done in training and all the time. So people were asking questions. You had like a wide variety of age groups in this pace time too. Like you have people that want to do a sub 150. You have younger people, you have older people. It's a wide variety of humans. And it's very interesting too when you're pacing because most of the time people don't want to talk, which I totally get. I don't want to talk when I'm doing a race. Like, are you kidding me? If you talk to me, like jail. Actually, let's talk about it. Should you talk to somebody at a race? Let's talk about it. I think, okay, during a 5K, if you're like actually sprinting, no. If you're party pacing and you can tell the other person is party pacing and you've been next to them for a while, you don't know them, sure. Maybe you're just like, oh, have you done this race before? Of course. But if you could tell the other person's like, which like is me at every race, don't necessarily talk to them. Yeah. It's kind of annoying. Well, you just have common courtesy and just make a judgment call. I mean, there's been a marathon, don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of marathons actually. Is it every marathon? Okay, majority of the marathons actually that I've ran, I would say that if I'm running next to someone for multiple miles in a row, we're both not talking, maybe I'll look over to them and be like, that hill was hard. Or I'll say like just something where it's like they can make a comment back, or I'm not like looking for them to answer a huge question. Saying that, I've had some people tell me that they get annoyed when people talk to them at races. And then I've had people say like, no, I love talking to people at races. So I think you kind of just have to weigh like what's appropriate. But now that I'm thinking about it, I actually kind of like just establishing like, hey, I know we've been running together for a crap ton of miles and I see you there. Like we're buddies. You know what I mean? Like, so at the end of the race, you can be like, good job. You really pushed me at that point. And just say something super corny or like, I don't know. You really got me through that hill at 18. Things that you would only say to a runner. Oh, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, pace groups. So you meet all the people before and it's always funny because it's like some people, they want to be radio silent. They're just there for the vibes. They're there for you to get them to their goal, which like, yes, that's what we're there for. You know what I mean? And then some people, they want to talk. They're chatters, chatty Cathys and chatty Chads. A lot of chatty Chads, actually. And so you have to focus on pacing, which, you know, it's not too much focusing. Like you have your watch set up in a way where you can see your overall pace, your current pace, average pace for the lap that you're in. So you're really kind of like clued in. You know what I mean? You know when you need to pick it up, you know when you need to like slow it down a little bit. And I think a big part of being a pacer is never having to like sprint, never having to walk. Like you always want to be in the range of pace that kind of makes sense for someone trying to hit that goal. Where it gets tricky though is if a course has a lot of hills, you have to be really strategic with how you decide to pace that. And I also think, because the Long Beach Marathon is relatively flat and fast, there's like a couple little like hills when you go over like this, what do you call it? Overpass situation. But other than that, flat and fast. But when you're pacing a race with hills, you really have to be strategic. And I think it's a really good idea to talk to the people around you at the start line and give them kind of like an idea of what you are going to be doing. For example, in the rare case that the pace calls for positive splits, so starting faster and ending slower because maybe there's more hills at the end, I think it's really important to tell them like, hey, don't be scared if you see we're going out too fast. There's a lot of downhill in the beginning, but there's going to be a lot of uphill in the second half, and we're just kind of making up for that. So if you ever have questions, I feel like it's really important to ask the pacer before the race, especially if it's a weird or technical race, because if you want to get to your goal, you'll have an idea of what they're doing. And like I was saying in the 10K with like the 45-minute pacer, he was going fast. And I felt like it was unnecessary to be doing positive splits. Like it just didn't really make sense to me. I'd be curious how he ended. Maybe, okay, you know what? Saying that, I did do a 44:11. So maybe he wasn't that far behind me and he actually did a really good job with the sub 45. Whatever. But he was like fast. So in this race with my friend, at the time, he wasn't having a good race. And by a good race, I mean, this was kind of just like it was a little bit faster than how I would typically pace an easy run since it was like an 8:23. I think a lot of my easy runs at the time were like mid, high 8. And so it was kind of like a nice moderate run for sure. And I think with the responsibility of getting people to the finish line, you kind of have like the endorphins where you're like, okay, this pace feels a lot easier. Like it felt like a relatively easy run for the majority of it compared to what it typically would. And so I was feeling good, and I luckily was fine. Unfortunately, Dylan, he started kind of feeling it a little bit. He's like, Michelle, you're going to have to hold my little thingy. You're going to have to hold my sign that said 150, which is fine. And he kept it up, and no one knew he was feeling it a little bit. But I was really, really trying to stay cognizant of knowing that the course could run a little bit long, which it always does. So you have to calculate for that and make up time. But I also, as a pacer and for my first time pacing, I was like, I really don't want to come in too far under 150 because if you do that, like, maybe aiming for like an 820 for the majority of the race was a good call, to kind of like keep it a little bit under just in case the course runs long, even an 818, 819. But if you start dropping to like 815 and under on average and the course isn't running long, you can get people to the finish like a couple minutes early. And that's just, if they're going for a PR and like trying to get right under 150, it's just like too much. It's a lot faster than what they were training for. So I tried to be cognizant to get as close to 150 as possible, but below. So I was trying to aim, and I was like really doing the math every time I got to a mile marker. Like if my watch hit it at the mile, I was like, okay, I'm good. So when my watch like didn't hit the mile when we got to the marker, or no, sorry, if my watch hit it before we got to the marker, I was really cognizant of like, okay, that was like 0.03 before, so I need to make up for that. But I really wanted to get people there like about 30 seconds before 150, 20 to 30, which is like tight. And it's sometimes hard to manage that, but that was the goal. And we did. And I think it was like 20 to 15 seconds on the dot. And I was stoked. Like nothing felt, I think that's when I peaked in my life, actually, looking back, because the next year I did the 155. Okay. And I did it alone, which I was completely fine with. I love pacing. Like I didn't feel scared of the responsibility. Like it's something that I felt really confident about, but I had a problem. The problem was the beginning of the race. And I should have known this because I've done the race, I don't know, maybe a handful of times, but a couple of the times when doing the race, you're running through the city and the GPS got a little funkadelic and my mile time was off. And so, you just have to be like, okay, like I think I'm in this pace range for that. Like I wasn't going too fast above my goal. I wasn't going too slow below my goal. Did I say that backwards? You know what I mean? So you kind of just have to clock it in your head and be like, okay, I'm still on track to hit that time. But for some reason, this year when I was pacing the 155, it was so off in the city. It was so off. And I didn't want people to know that I was kind of like, ooh, pretty sure we're running this pace right now. Everyone looks good. Everyone looks fresh. It's still like mile 2-3. But I was kind of like, I should probably check with somebody else's watch. But you don't want your fear to show. You know what I mean? So I was talking to some of the chatty chads. And I was like, hey, like, what was your mile time for that last mile? What was your pace? What was your average pace? And some people were like, wait a minute, like, what do you mean? What do you mean that what was my pace? Like, is your watch okay? And I'm like, no, yeah. But like, we're running through the city. Just want to make sure that we're all like clocked in together and make sure you guys are all going to hit it too. And so I like vetted a few people and I'm like, got it. We may have gone a little fast in that last mile, and by a little fast, like barely. it's better than having, we can slow down a little bit if we need to, which is great. We don't have to try to make up a ton of time in the end, which was like my biggest fear, to try to push people too much and do too much of a negative split when they're already tired. So, we were doing it. Kind of funny about the second time I did it is because I was doing the 155 and I slowly realized the 155 was a lot different than the 150. And not just pace wise, which was like a more comfortable race to pace. You know what I mean? It was slower than the 150. Obviously, you're adding 5 minutes. But here's the thing. Part of the race is on a bike path. And when you get closer to the 2-hour mark where like you get a lot of people, it gets really impacted. There's a ton of people running all together. So I'm trying to like corral everyone and make sure anyone who's running in the 155 is like, we're good. We're not like getting kicked off. There's this one kid. He was running in the sand. And I didn't catch him doing that until like a half mile into the bike path. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you're running on the sand? First of all, insane. You're probably so tired right now. Probably good on the body, because it's a softer surface. But he's about to burn out. So I'm just like, we gotta, I was like a mom. This is like my mom energy coming out. I'm like, we got to get you back on the bike path right now. Come on, get back on there. And so I was like wrangling everybody. Pace is still looking good, but we're too fast on average, according to my watch. Like we're going to be there 2 minutes above time. So I was like, we need to slow down ever so slightly. Okay. So we slowed down ever so slightly. We get on ocean. We're coming back. And I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, like my watch is telling me we're going way too fast on average. Like I don't get it. And I had a moment where I was like, okay, either I can get us to the finish like way too fast. And by way too fast, again, like 2 minutes under the time, which, is a lot for some, like for people going for a certain pace, that can be a lot faster and they may burn out in the last 5K. And I don't want that to happen. So then I was like, okay, we're going to slightly slow down a little bit, but nothing crazy. So we're slowing down a little bit. And then people are like, wait a minute, why are we slowing down? I'm like, oh, like you can like look at my watch. Like we're good. Look at the average pace. Like we're chilling. We're like on the mile markers. And then in the last like 2 miles, my watch did this weird thing where all of a sudden like the average pace, and I still don't understand why this happened. It just changed. Like it got so much slower. And I was like, how did that happen? Like we were all good. We were all good. And so I had to pick it up a little bit. And I'm like, you really can't trust these watches. I was relying so much on the watch and not like listening to my internal organs. And so, and again, if you were running with me on this, which I highly doubt anyone listening to this was, but you probably didn't notice this because it was like ever so slightly increase and decrease. But we're going, which I now see why it's probably beneficial to have 2 pacers at a pace group so you can like vet each other. But we're going. We get to the finish line literally seconds before 155. So we got there. My watch clocked in at 154, like 58. And I was like, oh my God. On one hand, really good for some people, especially people who started behind us and caught up with us. They're golden. For the people who started in front of us and met up with us, not so good. They finished over a 150. So when we got to the finish line, I heard a couple people be like, oh, wait, like my time is over 150. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I hit it like right on the dot. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, did you start ahead? Like, even if it was like a second or two ahead, it could have made a difference, So that was a moment where I was kind of like, I probably should have just made it so we were a couple minutes faster than the time. But the stupid downtown and the satellites threw me off. But I still think about that and I feel a little bit guilty about the people that I brought in. And then you realize how much pressure and how important it is to really like, I don't know, be on it. And I think at the end of the day, it's probably better to be there a little bit too fast than behind the goal. So it was really good for some people aiming for that direct time and who started behind us. But I still feel bad for the people who started ahead of us and, met up with us. Oof, which is so risky, which is always probably why a minute is probably a better range for the people who had to drop back a bit. But yeah, I guess that's always a takeaway too. Like always be cognizant if you start a race and you are expecting to run with pace groups, maybe start behind them when you start the race. And so, if you ever meet up with them, you're like, oh, well, I started behind them. So if I run with them, I will be ahead of them, theoretically, if that makes sense. Now I'm feeling guilty about this again. Why did I have to think about this? Why did I put this on the docket for today? I'm going to go cry in a corner. Okay, a couple other things that I think are very important. I had a big fight with Dov yesterday. And by a big fight, it was like a 30-second conversation. And we didn't agree with each other. And then we both forgot that we talked about this up until the moment that I wrote this down. Singing in the shower. Well, okay. let me back up a little bit. The other day I was driving and we live in a town right outside of Montreal. I go into Montreal a lot. So it's kind of like, I feel like I say I'm from Montreal, or I say that I'm living in Montreal because I'm pretty adjacent to it and it's easy to get there, but I'm right outside of it. And during the day, I get a little lonely on occasion, because I work remote and I don't like interface. I don't interface with people on the reg during the week, and I'm a pretty social gal. And so for the first time, this is going to sound insane to half of you and then probably normal to the other half, I talked to myself for the first time. And then I brought this up to some people the other day and they're like, no, I talk to myself all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean you talk to yourself all the time? What are you talking to yourself about? There's like, no, like when I'm like, especially if you live alone, like you're like, oh, haha, or I don't know. I don't know what people talk to themselves about. But I remember I was driving and something popped in my head and I just like wanted to say it out loud. And so I said it out loud to myself and I'm like, oh, am I okay? I was kind of like, I've never really talked to myself before, which is crazy because I've just talked for like 50 minutes recording this. So I take everything back. Okay, I do talk to myself apparently, but I'm talking into a microphone, so it makes it like less insane. So anyway, Dov, which is hilarious, and he is not in the apartment right now, so I can say this without him knowing because he's not going to listen to this far at least. He sings in the shower more than the average person, I would imagine. Like this introverted dude, he sings, he belts. And I thought he was just like trying to make me laugh a couple times. And then I realized like, no, like this is his time to, produce a ballad. It's also kind of funny because when he sings a song in English, he makes up half the words, which is like, I guess how I would sing a song in French, but he can speak English fluently for the record. But growing up, when he heard a song and he didn't know English as well, they would make up the words. So when he sings a song, he'll be like, let's see, like a Shakira song, like Shakira, Shakira. I don't even know the lyrics. I don't really know that you can dance like that. Okay, so that song, he'd be like, Spanish. Like he'll say one or two words. It's hilarious. I have like 20 videos on my phone saved in a folder if I ever need blackmail. But so anyways, he sings in the shower. And we had a debate and I was like, yeah, I mean like, Dov, I talked to myself for the first time. And he goes, really? And I'm like, okay, don't really me. Like you talk to yourself all the time. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you sing in the shower. That's talking to yourself. He goes, singing in the shower is not talking to yourself. And I'm like, okay, is singing talking? He's like, I mean, maybe, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, you're singing in the shower. So like you're singing to yourself. You're talking to yourself. And then we just stopped talking about it, but it's kind of weighed on me. And I think singing in the shower is talking to yourself because I don't think I've ever done it. And maybe that's why I've like gone through periods of depression recently, is because I'm not singing in the shower and I should be doing this. But also like, can people hear me? I'm in an apartment. I don't know if I want to risk that. I don't know. I'll report back if I do it. Let's see. I bring this up to Carolyn in the next episode. I'm like, so I sang in the shower. She's like, why? Why are you talking about this? Okay. Also, did anyone else okay, the kids who didn't eat crust growing up, or like the people, if you're eating, I don't know, I'm thinking of this example. It's not like super common, but if you're eating like a Philadelphia pizza, is that the one where they cut it into squares? It's like, I'm always reaching for a corner. I'm always reaching for some crust, a little crusty action. The people who reach for the middle piece, like, I'm like, you like birthday cake, you like the fluff. And then I thought about it. It's like, wait, the fluff is good. You know what I mean? And then I thought about it even deeper. Me not like interfacing with people during the week. I'm just like thinking about stuff like this constantly. I'm like, did I really like Crust as a kid? Or did I think it just like gave me a personality? I thought it gave me character to like the Crust when all the other kids didn't like the Crust. And now I'm thinking that we brainwash ourselves to like the Crust. Are you a crustacean too? Let me know. Also, last thing that I really need to touch on, because I did my annual Facebook check-in. That's when you log onto Facebook and you're like, what are the boomers doing right now? What are they talking about? Oh, look, Henry got a new car. Look, it's Jan's birthday. Like, you do that, you know what I mean? And then you always have like a couple insights from your hometown. You see like the 3 millennials that are also posting on Facebook. Makes you question things. Actually, I might be posting to Facebook too. I don't know if it auto posts to Facebook from my Instagram, but I digress. I did my annual check-in, biannual, I would say, which is a reminder to do it if you have been like, not doing that. You need to. You don't have to. But I was reminded with one of my 12 years ago, you said, I don't even know how many years ago this was. I could do the math, but I just don't feel like it right now. And I used to speak in all lowercase. And if you're a millennial, I'm sure you did too. You would throw the caps lock out, throw it in the trash can, bam, you don't need it. We speak in only lowercase. And that reminded me, the Gen Z is doing that right now. And the Gen Z is taking, and if you're Gen Z listening to this, because obviously, I'm not that far away from Gen Z. And even though Gen Z, you millennials, we started literally everything that you do, okay? Speaking all lowercase, especially texting. Are you kidding me? That requires so much effort to uncaps lock. It's the amount of effort to look cool. Get out of town. Saying that, I will do it sometimes for the stylistic side of it. But just wanted to let all the Gen Z listening know, we started this back in high school, okay? And you're going to get away from it. I give you 2 years. It's not sustainable grammatically. Anyway, missing Carolyn right now. I'm so excited to catch up with her. We have so many questions to answer, but I hope this was relatable. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts on running fashion, on if you're going to be spectating a race this year, if you think singing in the shower is talking to yourself. Because I think I'm right on that one, but I'm not totally sure. We're on Instagram, Going Off Course Pod. Feel free to email us, goingoffcoursepodcast@gmail.com. There's still some room for some more questions too. So if you have any questions related to life, running, triathlons, anything, it could even be I can't seem, me just coming up with something, I can't seem to decide if I should stop drinking sparkling water. I don't know, get weird, get random with it. That just came to me first. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to go interface with some people because I think it's needed after this episode and talking to myself for an hour. So I will talk to you next time. Okay, bye.